My name is Thomas Hensley Weaver, born in 2/28/42 in Victoria, Texas. His family come over on a boat, I think in Germany, and they got some kind of disease, and they all died except him. And when he come on the boat, there's a BQ ward took him in. Some people say he was an infant. Some people say he's 12 years old. He served in two world wars, and they thought his name. They didn't have really no proof about what his name was, so they thought BQ Ward thought his name was Gensler, and he didn't like Gensler, so he gave him the name of Hensley, and I'm sure glad he did, because my mother would have named me Gensler. The hell, it sure as hell. I don't like Gensler, just like BQ Ward didn't like it, I guess. So, but she threatened all her sisters and her brother not to use the name Hensley, because she had a little boy. She was going to name him Hensley, and that's how I got my name Hensley. And he come down, he settled down here on the bay, down here on the Cronkway Bay, raised 7 kids, and one of his sons was my grandpa, Laval Hensley. Laval married one of Josiah Traylor's daughters. Her name was Lillian, and that's where my mother come from. So they had Grandpa Laval and his wife. They had 6 kids, 5 girls and 1 boy. And all the girls had nicknames. Like the oldest one, they called her sister. She was married to Marlon Simons. Her name was Lillian. And then there's Woodland. Her nickname was Aunt Linda. We called her Aunt Linda, but her nickname was Em. You ever heard of such a thing? Never heard the word before in my life. Em. And then one of them was named Hunter. She married McDowell. And the lady, my aunt that was married to Sam Seal, she died when I was about 8 years old. I don't know what her nickname was. And then mother, she got the name Kid because she was the baby of the family. And that's how Raquel named her son Kid, because she thought so much of my mother, and that was just mother's nickname. Her name was Martha Leola, but everybody called her Kid. She wouldn't let the kids call her grandma or nothing. It was Kid. And I had to call her Kid till I just stopped. And then I started calling her mother. But everybody else called her Kid. I don't know too much about Hensley side other than the immediate family, but on the Traylor side, that was my mother's mother, was out of Josiah Traylor. They moved to Georgia, and then to Alabama. He did when he got bigger. Had a place there, and I guess he sold that place, and he moved to Jasper, Texas. He had a big place there, and he sold that place, or traded it, or sold it, I guess. And he had a bunch of slaves. He freed all the slaves that he had, and he moved over here to Texarkana River Bottom, nearby Edna. You know, them land grants and stuff. That's how he got all this country right here, and I'm still living on part of it. Out of they said it was 25 to 35,000 acres. We looked it all up. So I don't know what it was, but it's a bunch. Out of all that land, they was about, maybe we could stretch it maybe to 4,000 acres left of Josiah Traylor's country. Everybody else has gotten rid of it. It divided up amongst the kids. They sold it off, ended up with no money. You know, usually that's what happens. They sell it all cheap, and times get tougher and things get higher where you run out of money. And that's what happened to a lot of my kinfolk. So I'm living on 650 acres over here. I would have bought the whole 800 acres, but I bought 2 of my niece and nephews out, but one of them sold to Formosa. And there's 125 acres on the back end of this place. They sold to Formosa, but I still lease it. See, Josiah Traylor, they say he was highly educated. And they had 3 sets of wives. They say the first wife was 12 years old. Moved down here to 12 years old. She wasn't, not maybe 14. I don't know. That's what they say. She had 5 kids. She died at 34. He married another woman. had 5 more kids. She died at 34. Now, ain't that something? Both of them first 2 wives died at 34 years of age. And then he married Charlotte Traylor. Teddy told me, we looked at it, and he told me where she was from. Connecticut or somewhere, I can't remember now. But she's way up the country high. He went way up there and got her, and he brought her down here. And she had 3 kids, and my mother's mother was one of them. Her name was Charlotte. And he was raised all them kids over here on Swan Lake. Yeah, on part of this, it's still part of the property they own, but it's over there on the bay on Swan Lake. It's about to fly to the crow, about maybe 3 miles right straight across there, maybe 4. He wore a suit every day. When the kids come to the table, they come with a dress and a tie on, and dressed properly, Didn't have no trash on. They had they called it governess or something like that then that taught the kids. He had hands where they raised garden, pigs, and cattle. And he was one of the first ranchers in this country ever built a fence. The only thing that went out really, because one of his sons was Champ Traylor. Another one, I called him Uncle Champ. I didn't know him. They say he was a walking bank. He inherited 5,000 acres. We call it the Maud Traylor down here. It goes on the bay down here. And Uncle John was a brother, full brother to him, I think. And he sold out to Champ Traylor. He sold his land to Champ Traylor, which we call it the Maud Traylor, made 10,000 acres. I still hunt down there today. A lot of cats down there. Yeah, still hunt down there. I hunt from that bay down there, damn near the Lord, all this country right here. I still hunt it. It's amazing. Lots of country. That's the reason I can cat hunt. Granny, Daddy's mother, used to come down here every summer, and she had a bunch of kids. She had, I think, 11 kids. The first 2 died. I don't know, Daddy had to leave home. His time was bad back there. Daddy had to leave home when he was 15. He never got to finish school. And as soon as he left, he went to Houston, went to work in a filling station. He had to come right back home. His daddy done shot himself. That's what I understand. But some people said that it was an accident. The gun went off. But I don't know. Daddy always thought he shot himself, committed suicide. But Daddy's brothers and stuff said he was an accident. So I don't really know what happened there, but he had a lot of land, and he lost it all wildcatting, trying to make a well. And I don't even know what his name was. And I didn't know, I was just called Daddy's mother. I didn't know her name till here a while back. I got thinking, damn, we just called her Granny. We'd sit on her lap, and she'd read to us. We had more fun, that old lady. And she walked on the side if she had polio, and she walked on her ankle. And she raised all them kids walking on that ankle. Yeah, she was old when I was little. Yeah. And I called my cousin that lives in Waller, and I said, Dan, what was Granny's name? She said it was Lily Cole. Lily Cole. Teensy Bowling introduced him in Houston. He's some kind of kin to Mother. He was kin to Mother some kind of way, but I don't know how. Teensy Bowling introduced them, and they got married, and then one of them houses, and you go through Main Street in Waller, it's some big old white houses when you get about the railroad track. They got married in one of them houses right there, Justice of Peace, I think. He was a doodlebugger in Louisiana. They drill holes and get vibrate the ground to see if there's any oil around down there. I think that's what he was. Yeah, he was a doodlebugger. And Vira was born to them, and they had to move. And they said she little old bitty thing, and they didn't have no basket. And then they'd open up a drawer. And the hotel where they stayed, drawer, and lined it with blanket stuff, and that was her bed. And a drawer and a dresser. Yeah, they moved here and raised us 3 kids on this 800 acres. Built a house. Yeah, started building fence. It's all open. My mother inherited from her mother. See, so Laval didn't own the land either. Laval Hensley. It was his wife that owned the land because she was a descendant from Joseph Traylor. I'd almost a leap year baby. I said, Mama, how come you didn't let me be a leap year baby? She said, I didn't want no leap year baby. I said, how'd you keep from me? She said, I took Castrol. I said, what? What the hell are you going to do taking Castrol? What's that going to do? I said, well, she said, I don't know. Maybe things slicker. I guess I don't know. I was looking the other day. I asked somebody, what in Sunday school, I asked the Sunday school class, I said, now, what is the earliest memories y'all had when y'all first come into this world alive? And some of them didn't know. I can remember, my first memory was I can't remember anything but beyond that. I had my daddy's old hat on. I had a pair of these suspenders, little short, what do you call them? Not overalls, but they were short with suspenders. And I had my sister was in the band, and I don't know, she had them band boots, and I had them on the wrong feet to keep them on. There's a picture somewhere, but we couldn't find it. And that's one of the first memories I had. And then the second memory I surely had, I was about 4. And of course, all this country had done been divided up amongst the sisters when their mother and daddy died. Laval and Lillian died. And anyway, they had a division. They divided up the cattle, divided up the land, they built the fences, all of them worked together. Some of them old posts that they made out of live oak trees are still down there on the corner of the property. Years ago, they're still there. But anyway, they were divided up the horses. And mother always rode, if every chance she got, she rode with her daddy. And I had an old gray mare called Philly. Well, Uncle Cub got Philly in the division. And mother wanted her, so she got a little Palomino horse called Billy. And Billy, Uncle Cub traded mother, so she got Philly, and Uncle Cub got Billy. So the old mare got old, and Daddy took her up to Edna and bred her to that jig stud Westhoff had up there. And she was fixing to have a colt. I was 4 years old, I remember. And we was washing her clothes because she was old. When we went out there and found her, the old mare was dead. She had prolapsed and bled to death, and the colt was standing up beside her, sucking her, trying to suck her. So we took her in the colt. We was milking then. Daddy milked. Had the old milk cows get a lot of milk. So we just started giving the cow milk, and we called her Little Philly. And we raised her on a bottle, and then we got where she'd drink it out of a bucket. We had a lot of milk, and that's how we raised her, and then we fed her too. And she laid around, she's just a big old pet, you know. I'm telling you, I'm being as gentle as a dog. And I was about 6 years old then, and she was about 2 years old. And I used to run down in the pasture. Daddy had screwworms bad then. And Daddy'd be down in the pasture doctoring screwworms because every calf was born with worms in their navel, every one of them. And I'd run down. I'd see Daddy coming out of the pasture down there. Well, I'd run down there barefooted through the grass birds. No, you got to run fast. You wouldn't get no grass birds if you run fast. And then he'd swing me up behind the cantle of the saddle, and I'd get to ride to the barn with him, see? It's all bred in me right there. That's all I wanted to do, is horse and a dog. So we had a windmill down there, and you'd put packing in that windmill, and you'd pump water to the cistern in the house. And then it had a valve on it where you cut the valve off the trough, and the water would run to the cistern up at the house, free fall. And then when the cistern run over, you had to go back down there and open the faucet up going into and let the water run back in the water trough. Well, little Philly was laying down there by that water trough. And Daddy we'd come by there, and I'd ride the back of the saddle. Daddy said, Hensley, jump down there and jump on little Philly. Get you a handful of mane. Oh, I'd do anything, Daddy said. So I did. I jumped down there and got me a handful. Well, he pulled his rope down and hit her across the ass with that rope, and she got up, and she took off with the barn running wide open. And I was holding on. But up at the pens there was a gate and a wing, and there's a gate there. When you close that gate, open that gate, well, we used it to pen cattle up in there. And otherwise, it was open. The cattle would go through there, and Daddy'd ride through. There's a hole there, and it had water in it. Well, I fell off, and I wiped that mud hole clean. Jumped up and started crying, and Daddy said, boy, what are you crying about? You almost rode her. He said, go to the house and get your mama to clean you up. I'm going to have her saddled. We're going to break her this evening. I broke my first horse when I was 6 years old. I broke a lot of horses since then, too. I fell off. Daddy put my ass right back up there. Get back up there, boy. No, I wasn't scared. No, I fell off many a time. And then one time, I was a little boy, I don't know how old. Dad said, boy, if you don't rope that horse, I'm going to whip your ass. I was always walking, seeing I wasn't keeping up with him. And he'd take me to the pasture. And I wasn't keeping up with it. Sometimes I'd be walking along and he'd be, he'd strike a lope and run off and run around to be behind it and run off like he's going to leave me. Oh, damn, it scared the hell out of me. I'd cry. And he'd come in and he'd show up and say, boy, where the hell you been? I've been looking for you. Yeah, the little fella. But yeah, you get to looking back to how much your mother did for you. And you didn't even realize it then. She was just a housewife. But see, them women, they had to take care of us kids. They had to have us kids. Had to take care of the old men. They had to cook. They had to wash. They had to hang the clothes on the line. They had to iron for us. And one time, my little brother was playing. Didn't have no washing machine. She had a scrub board in a tub, water in it. And we run through there, and somewhere another one of us fell over in the tub and broke her scrub board. Daddy come in. Mother was sitting on the porch. She was crying. Daddy said, Leola, what are you crying about? Oh, the boys run through my tub a while ago and broke my scrub board. Daddy said, get in the pickup. They went over to the melters over and bought one of them tit wringer machines, You better watch out, You had to do it by hand. Boy, us little boys, we love that. You had to wash your clothes and you had to run it with a crank to dry the clothes out before you hung them on the clothesline. And then we had a bunch of chickens, and we was little, and Mother made Daddy kill all the chickens, get rid of all the chickens because the rattlesnakes were so bad. The rattlesnake killed rattlesnakes every day, and if she was afraid us little boys running around there wasn't watching, we were gonna get snake bit. They draw them the snakes sticking that tongue out. That's where they scent. They get scent through that heat sense through that tongue, and them little chickens, they'd go right in there. We killed a lot of rattlesnakes inside the hen house. So we got rid of all the chickens because they was collecting them rattlesnakes. I went barefooted all the time. We all went. I even went to school barefooted. When they put me on the bus with shoes, I'd take them off. I didn't want them. But Mother said, hot dog, you didn't wear your shoes. Because my feet would be dirty when I come home. I couldn't give it away, see. I'd put my shoes on the bus under the seat, take them off and go barefooted. But everybody else was going barefoot. Hell, I was maybe a little higher class, but it wasn't all that much higher class, but I wanted to be like the rest of the gang. I didn't want to wear my shoes because the other little boys playing when they didn't have no shoes on. That would not look funny with shoes on. See, I didn't want that. My first rope was a sash cord, cotton sash cord. I was a little bitty boy. They had them window weights in them old houses, and the cotton rope that they had in there would rot and break. Well, you'd have to replace it. So Daddy was replacing all those ropes in the window weights. So he gave me that cotton rope, and I tied a knot in it. That was my first rope. And so I started roping. You couldn't rope. I was a little old boy. I just thought I could. But then as I got older, I got to roping pretty dadgum good. I roped my brother with a dog. Anything could come by me, chicken, cat. But then they had them old manila ropes that was made out of grass, and they was easy to break. And Daddy had some down there that he done broke rope and stuff. And so he built me a little loop in one of them old broke ropes, and that was my first good rope, and it wasn't worth a darn. So to me, I thought I had something I was proud of. And then I graduated, kept graduating, getting older and older, and then we put a post in the ground. Me and my little brother put a post in the ground. It was about that high. And just an old post about that big around. And my cousin would come over, and I'd rope that post all day. Yeah, but I'd rope it. When you'd rope it, you didn't let it hit the ground. You draw your slack before it hit the ground. Anybody can rope it and let the rope flop on the ground and you pull your slack. No, you got to where you rope that post, and you pull in that slack up, and that rope would be up close to the top of that post with you. When you pull your slack, that's roping. So we'd have roping contests. Yes, sir. When you drug your slack, so when you rope a cow or something, you got to pull that slack. A lot of people go to the horn and dally. Back then, I was tied together. Tied to the saddle horn where it wouldn't come off. And then I started dallying later on. But we'd rope that post till we'd give out. And then one of us would count to 3 one time, and then we'd rope. Whoever rope went on first counted as one. The other 2 didn't count. And we'd rope it 10 times, and each one of us would take turns counting, and whoever went on first was the world champion post roper. Yeah. And I'd ride my stick horse when I was little. That stick horse, mother built me that stick horse. I'd wear it out in a week. And she'd even put me a head on it. And when my daddy would work cattle, when he had the hands come over and mother would cook dinner, and they'd tie the horses to the yard fence, no picket fence, it's gone years ago. I'd take my stick horse over, I'd tie him up too. I didn't want that son gun running off. Yes, sir. I'd tie him up to the fence too, tie my rope up there, an old little chicken shit rope. I'd hang that rope over that damn fence post, there, and tie my stick horse up. I know they laughed like hell at me. I was serious as a heart attack now. Yeah, that was even before I broke the filly. Like we're throwing calves in the pen, I'd be a little bit in the calf, knock me down. He'd get up, boy. What the hell are you doing? Yes, sir. You can get in that pen with him. You went to work. But the fun part of it was they'd put the little calves in there for us little guys, see, and they'd still knock us down, And then they'd let us rope while they was working. They'd have the calves separated before they work them, and we'd be out there in that pen playing roping, and they'd be washing off in the shoes up there and watching us kids rope. We rope one too big, but they'd come take it off for us, and we get to rope again. Fun. And then a little later on, I got a little bigger. We had what we called a hospital trap. We'd gather all the cattle in the heavy springers. They would go in that hospital trap. And but every other day we'd pin that cattle out of that hospital trap and doctor them nabbles on them calves born, because all them cows was fixing to have calves and went in the hospital trap. And when they had calves, they'd get worms in their navel. So we'd pin them. Daddy would separate the cows from the calves, and he'd let me rope them calves and drag them to him. Anytime, boy, you better have, when I get through doctoring that calf, you better have me another one over there. I'm gonna whip your ass. Boy, God damn, sometime I'd miss. I'd miss and miss and miss. Oh, he'd get after my ass. He wasn't gonna whip my ass, but he made a hand out of me, see? He knew what he had. He had a little hard-headed shit ass, what he had. I'm telling you. But he knew what I had. He knew what he had. He said when I was born, he went to look at me through the window. Said I raised my hand up and waved at him. I said, oh, Daddy, what the hell? He was so proud he had a little boy. But he told me. All my uncles, they taught me too. Not only my daddy, but my uncles, all my mother's brother, Uncle Vernon, and all their sisters' husbands. They was all cowboys. I learned from that. And then I had other mentors too. Johnny and Fritz Garrett from Louise. They were really good cowboys. And even Fritz Garrett Johnny Garrett come out and put the reins on my ass. He said, God damn it, boy, I told you to quit turning that horse that way. I wasn't paying no attention. And Daddy said, tear his ass up. God damn it, you're going to learn one way or another. There's a certain way you got to feel all that through your ass. The way the horse foot, hind foot's coming up under him, what time? The wrong foot's coming up on him and you want to turn this way, well, he got to take a step and he's still pulling on his mouth, make a hard life out of him. You want to keep easy as you can with it. And if you feel all, them boys taught me all that stuff. Babe Blaze was another one. Good horseman, rode good horses, get around. You could set them horses where you wanted to just in the instant. Just looking at a horse was enough. That was enough. And on top of that, looking at all my uncles, my friends, my daddy's friends that he worked cattle with, just had the want to, that's it. And if you don't have the want to, you ain't gonna amount to nothing. You got to want to. If you don't want to, or you want to. It's just like these kids on drugs. You gotta have a want to quit. Most of them don't have the want to. Just like smoking. You gotta have the want to, or you ain't gonna quit. The only way you can quit is to quit. It's so simple. So simple, and I ain't the smartest bird in the woods either. One time I had to sing for my milk. I love that milk. And Daddy fed it to his dogs, fed a lot of milk to his dogs. And we had plenty of milk, but Daddy, he would play with us, boy. Daddy, I want another glass of milk. He would sing me a song. I try to sing something. Oh, that's good enough. Oh, yeah, he's funny. Yeah, he's funny. And he's rough on our ass too, partner. Sometimes I got a whipping. I was so damn mean and ornery that sometimes I got a whipping for the same thing twice a day. Stubborn. I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And still kind of that way, I guess. One time we was riding the milk calves, and my cousin would come over, and we'd ride them milk calves. We had more fun riding them. Dad said, all right, you boys quit riding them milk calves, let them gain a little weight. I'm fixing to sell them. We'd ride, we even saddle them. We had them little saddles. Dad said, quit riding them milk calves, boys. Yes, sir. Well, he left, went down the road. And he went down the road on purpose. Well, me and Jamie, we was out there, we done ride them calves. And all of a sudden, looked up and there's Daddy peeking around the corner of the barn. God, dog. He said, knowing already he done said it, he said, I thought I told you boys to quit riding them calves. Yes, sir, you did. He said, when you gonna quit? Well, I was a small one. I said, right now. He said, well, get your ass in the barn. We're gonna have a little remembrance about this. Oh man, he doubled up the road and whooped our ass to hell, wouldn't have it. So we ain't never quit riding them calves. One of us was on watch out. Yeah, one of us was on watch out. And if we started coming back down the road, the ropes come off the calves and we'd gone to the pasture. He didn't even see us. He'd ride around the corner. Well, goddamn, they ain't riding them calves. Hell, we just got through riding the hell out of them. You see what I'm telling you? Daddy took us to Sunday school, but we was home by dinner. We didn't go to church. Well, there's a bunch of people around here, ranchers around here, all went to the same church over at Point Rebecca. And yeah, he'd take us to Sunday school, but we was always back home. Mother had dinner ready. God damn, she had fried chicken. Ooh, Lord, it was good. And whatever she cooked was good. Good, good. I remember one time when I was a little boy, I was laying in the bed, had a single bed. And it was even before daylight. Dad said, Hensley, wake up. I said, what? He said, you want to go work cattle today? I was a little boy, about 7, 8. I was riding a little filly then. I was probably about 8 years old then. So he said, Hensley, we're going up to work cattle for Uncle Vernon today. You want to go with me? God damn, man, what are you talking about? I was up and ready to put my boots and furs on. I was gone. My old hat, had one of them old straw hats on that they sell in the clothesline in HEB now. Sorry as hell you ever saw, but I was proud. Daddy had me a little saddle, good saddle, just like a man's saddle, except it's a little. Well, I'd help Daddy around here, you know, and stuff. But I never got to go off and work cattle, and that was really a treat. And we had to ride. It was about 3 miles up here. Had to ride up there and work cattle and ride back home. And when we got home, Mother had gingerbread and sass. She'd have gingerbread and sass. You know what sass is? I don't know what it is either, but it was good. You pour it over that gingerbread, made out of cow milk, cream and stuff, some sugar. Oh, man, you talking about good. Yeah, I started milking when I was 6 years old. My uncle come over cat hunting and Daddy, and they went hunting that morning. But Daddy had been letting me milk. When I was a little boy, he would milk, but I'd put my hand in there and grab one of them tits and milk, try to milk. And I got to where I could do pretty good. Dad said, Hensley, Cub and I going hunting in the morning, you milk. Oh, no, you're talking about a shock. I never milked by myself at all. I had an old cow. She was about half Bremen and something else. I don't know. He had a stanchion. You know what a stanchion is? You put the feed in the trough and you put a board over there and lock her head in because she quit eating. She couldn't back out on you. Well, I did that. And I was milking. I didn't have much milk. I might have had a little bit in that bucket. I was proud of what I had. Wasn't much. But what I had, she quit eating. You looked around and seen me and she kicked the bucket out in the middle of the pen and lost all my milk. I went to the house. I was crying. I just knew Dad's going to whoop my ass. Mother said, Hensley, what are you crying about? I said, I named her Pet. I said, old Pet kicked the bucket. You mean she died? I said, no, Mama, she kicked the bucket out in the middle of the pen. She said, oh, son, that'll be all right. So when Daddy come in, Daddy said, Hensley, you milk? Yes, sir. Did you get any milk? Well, I did. The old Pet kicked the bucket. She said, Dad said, boy, how much milk do you have in that bucket? I said, about that much. He said, God, dog, you had that much in that bucket? Yeah, I did. I said, well, he said, all right, you milk all the time now. So I started milking when I was 6 years old. Yeah, and milk till I got out of high school. The whole time Daddy used me. He used me morning and evening. And I had work out, and I'd come in, it might be 9 o'clock. The old cow would be standing at the gate ready to go in and get milk. got up in the morning, milked, then come cleaned up, drove us out to the school bus, got on the school bus, come in, 5 o'clock, milk again. Went to school in Flashes, that's 20 miles from here. Once I learned to read, spell half-ass, and multiply, add, subtract, I'm through. That's it. And that's all I do now. That's all I got now. What the hell else? Why do I have to go through all that other stuff? I see Daddy saddling up, going to work cattle. I'm madder than hell. And then I had 2 cousins that was older than me, Bubba and Sonny Simon. And they'd gone all the time working cattle. I wanted to be with them. I could care less about school. When I started school, the kids that I went to school with, they was all out here. But and Daddy put up with all that bullshit. They're good, you know. And Daddy said, well, I'd rather have you boys out here on the ranch running around in town and getting in trouble. So that's why they, you know, mothers fed them. They loved coming out here. Loved it. Because they couldn't do none of that stuff. See, I could go to town, have fun, come right here, have fun. I had it both ways, and they didn't have it. So what little they did was with me. So I probably saved a lot of lives. I'm telling you about taking them kids coon hunting. I had coon dogs. I'd take them, sometime we'd walk, sometime I'd saddle up horse. There wasn't too many of them, let them ride horses. And don't tell how many kids I saved a life on by just me taking them coon hunting. Yeah, I had old Speck and Tom, too, and then my cousin had them coon dogs because their daddy had a bunch of hounds. You know, we'd just take a couple of those old hounds and take them coon hunting with us. We caught a lot of coons. He'd leave over there on the Highway 172, and we'd meet up here somewhere about a mile up here, horseback. We'd meet. We knew all the country like the back of our hand. And I would collar my dogs together, to put them together with 2 snaps, make them follow me. And when we got to where we was hunting, we'd unsnap them and go coon hunting. And dogs follow right along behind my horse. They wouldn't run nothing till you unsnapped them. Trained. Yeah, I got old Tom, Oscar Cavalier, give him to me. An old black and tan dog, ugly, but he made one hell of a coon dog. And I caught some cats with him too. And then Daddy was down there at a rig one morning. It was real cold. And as he was leaving, he looked over there beside one of them brush stacks that they'd cleaned to move that rig in there. And there was a little old ugly dog sitting over there. He was hound, but he didn't look like a hound. He was ugly. He was brittle. He had a flag tail, had a lot of hair on his tail. He had 2 dew claws on his back feet. He was glass-eyed. And I had a bald face, and I named him Speck. So I took old Speck, I didn't know what I had, put him with old Tom. He made a hell of a coon dog. So I started gelding pretty good. So I said, Daddy, I want to sell old Tom Speck. But he had old E.K. Kemper from 6 miles here that evening. But I didn't get him track practice till 9 o'clock. It was already dark. So he said, Kemper wants to buy your dogs. And I said, okay. So I changed clothes, put my rubber boots on, and went right in here somewhere and caught a coon. Went about 200-300 yards right over there, caught a coon. And then they hit something else. And they run it around that wall, and they brought it right back up in the thicket. You see out the window over there, see that thicket? They treed in that thicket over there. When we got there, it was a bobcat. Yeah. So I didn't have a gun. So I run to the house and got Daddy to come down there, and he asked old Kemper, can you shoot that cat in the ass and jump out so we can have a fight or something to see what these dogs will do? Well, hell, he said, yeah, I can do it. Well, he shot that cat right between the eyes, killed him dead in hell. And he bought them dogs. $100 a piece. Oh, man, that's a lot of money. That went a long way. But hell, the next week I had another hound. Yeah, I had a hound. Somebody gave me a pup. But when I got older and I was working out, you know, the school gave us a bus to drive. We called it the Wheat Haven Boys. Yes, sir. They gave us a little short bus. We drove it about 5 or 6 years. Yeah, they wouldn't do that no more. They called us the Wheat Haven Boys, and that's where all the damn, my cousin, my brother, Taylor lived over here on the Seal, myself, Ronnie Sells, was all football, we was half the football team. And our parents wasn't going to take us back and forth to Palatia. No way. So that school give us a bus. Give us that little bus. And Larry Taylor was supposed to get the chauffeur's license. He never got them. So Coach found out when none of us had no license. We've been driving it a couple of years. So he told Woodland, my cousin lived right over here. He said, Freddie, you go home and you go study that book. Tomorrow come back and take that test so you can drive that bus. Well, Freddie got home. Uncle Cub asked, he said, boy, what you done home? He said, I got to study for the test. Study my ass. Let's go to work. So he put him to work and he didn't study. So the next day he went down there and made out like he went down there to take the test. Coach asked him, did you pass the test? He never even looked. So you know he didn't. Sure he didn't. Yeah, I passed it. He ain't passed nothing. And I got my ass whipped because I was driving the bus and Freddie was supposed to be the only one driving the bus, and they played poker. They had benches down the side, about 6 foot, and then a seat in the back. And they sat there and played poker, and whoever didn't play poker drove the bus. Well, they was going one evening to scout a game, and Coach seen me driving that bus. You ever had a whipping with a broom, partner? You don't want one either. I'm talking about a broom. He whipped me with a broom. I never had a whipping like that. My daddy ain't ever whipped me that hard. But he still drove that bus. We did everything. We done everything in that bus. I dated in that bus. You don't want to hear the rest of it. We drove it anywhere we wanted to, all over town. Ain't nobody said a word. We used that bus for our own personal property for 4 or 5 years. Yes, sir. Way back when I was about 7 years old, Daddy and Mother were friends with Dave and Lucille Bowling. They lived over here on the Cronkaway River. And to get back across there wasn't no one way in. They had a ferry and had a cable go one side of the Cronkaway River to the other, and it snubbed off on a big old pole. And you pull that cable through some sliding deals, and you took that carrier back over here. You could put a car on it. It's big enough to put a car on. Had an apron on it. And so we was over there visiting one time, and somebody come across on the south side of the creek, wanted to come visit. So they had a son called Dick. He was the same age as my sister, and he was pretty fast. So we was running down I went running down there with him to take that ferry across to pick them people up, and Dick would speed up, and I stayed with him. I was a little old boy. I speed up. He said, Hensley, one of these days you're going to be a track star. I didn't know shit. I didn't know. He was just talking for as I was concerned. He said, but he's pretty fast. He said, yeah, Hensley, one of these. I said, what? He said, one of these days you're going to be a track star. So when I got in the 7th grade, I started running track, played football and run track. And I won every race. Every race we went to a track meet, I won every race. I getting them medals. I was proud as hell of getting them medals, you know. So when I got in the 9th grade, they took me out of junior high, put me on the high school team. See, 9th grade back then was in junior high. They put me on the high school team, and I could outrun all the boys on the high school team. So I started traveling with the high school boys to track meets and winning meets. And when I got in high school myself, went to the Black Cat. I was in the 10th grade, I believe. We went to the Black Cat relay and a big damn in Bay City, the Black Cat relay. Coach says, Hensley, you get a good start, you're going to win the 100 and the 220. Guarantee you. I said, Coach, there's too many people here. He said, hell, son, you get you a good start, you're going to win it. Damn if I didn't do it. Yeah, there was a lot of boys there. Some of those races I won by nose because I got a big nose, I stick it out like that. I laughed about that. That's funny as hell. And I just kept running and kept running all the way through high school. I run. People don't know. To be a track star, you got to pump iron. You got to pump a lot of iron because you got to be stout. The first thing, you got to be stout. And then you got to work out. So, because I worked out, because I quit playing football when I was in the 10th grade. I quit. About halfway through the year, I quit. The coach is eating my ass out all the time. And I told him, I said, the coach goes to Renfro. I said, Coach, you draw your face up funny and give me an ass eating one more time, I quit. And he told me later on at a meeting, he said, you know what, I never could get with you. He said, you was one of my best upcoming athletes I ever had. Some reason or another. And my cousin was standing there. He said, Coach, how you going to teach anybody something that knows more than you do? I thought I did. So I quit. So I just started working out for track. And Coach Carr wasn't my track. He was assistant coach. He gave me a bicycle and a speedometer and a deal on it. And let me just go all over town on that bicycle. While they were working football, I was running track, working out, pumping that bicycle, and then lifting weights and jumping rope. I could jump rope like a boy, I'm telling you. I could do anything with a jump rope. I'm good at roping too. Well, I did a lot of fishing too, but I did a lot of catching too. It's fun. That roping is a skill, and it's fun. You rope something heavy when it wants to fight, you got to be mounted. Because it'll love to turn around and come right back to you and want to hook you. You got to be mounted. You got to be able to set that horse where you want him and when you want him. But anyway, I rode that bicycle everywhere. And so the next year, Coach Renfro come to me, and he said, "Were you going to play football for me this year?" I said, "No, sir." "You going to be here?" "Yes, sir." I said, "I ain't playing for you." I said, "I told you." We done had this talk. I told you if you made one more crooked face and cuss me at what I was going to do. And Coach, when I say something, I said, my daddy is the only one going to talk to me that way. I'm telling you right now. And I said, Coach, I ain't scared of you. I ain't. I said, if I rope a bull, Coach, weigh up 1,500 pounds and handle it, I ain't scared of no man. So I worked out in track, won everything the next year I run. And then my senior year, Coach Carr was a new bill left, and I played football for Coach Carr. I kicked 11 out of 12 extra points, and then I don't know how many touchdowns I made. Once I got around him, but no, some bitch come up beside me right there. I was stiff on his ass. He's on the ground. I was gone. And my brother he was badass. He went to school up at Sam Houston on a full football scholarship. But anyway, Coach Northcutt there at Victoria Junior College called Coach Carr and said, hey, what about that Weaver boy? He said, he'll win whatever track meet you go to. So hey, Coach Northcutt called me, and I went on and interviewed with him, and he gave me a scholarship. Yeah. And I run 2 years over there. Found a letter up in the attic here down there at the old house the other day where Coach Northcutt wrote my mother and daddy, thanking them for letting him take care of me for 2 years, look after me. And it was amazing. I didn't know he had done that. Just shocked. He was a Baptist and he was a good man. Taught me a lot. I tell you what, when you run 6.220s, jogging between, had to run every one of them under 26. And then before you work out, you had to run two laps, 2 quarter-mile laps, and then run them 220s. You're a hell of a man, partner. I'm telling you, you don't believe it. You tried. It's a hell of a job. And if you didn't run it under 26, we had a manager. He was strict as hell. He would not let you by. So you had to do it. If you didn't want to do it under, you better do it, because he was going to time you. Yeah. And between that and running the women, I was wore out. Wore me out. But we had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed going to them track meets and running, because a track is kind of an individual sport. You know, you do good and you're proud of yourself. And that's what makes a lot of people. A lot of people are not proud of themselves no more. You got to be proud of yourself. And I've always been proud of myself. So I don't know what else to say about along them lines.
Carla, one of the major Gulf hurricanes of this century, was spawned in an area of squalls that moved into the western Caribbean Sea on September 4th, 1961. Although of modest beginning, before she roared inland over the central Texas coast during the afternoon of September 11th, 1961, Carla was to cause the greatest mass exodus of persons from danger areas that has ever occurred. It is estimated that 500,000 persons sought safety in inland areas.
Hurricane Carla tore up stuff. Yeah, I just got out of high school. Carla had just moved over to Victoria Junior College on that track scholarship. It blew in the next day. I helped Mother and Daddy tie everything down here, and I said, y'all better get out of here. This is a bad one. I said, I ain't never been in a hurricane before, But they talking like this sun gun got 200-mile-an-hour winds, and they ain't nothing gonna be left too much. But they didn't. They stayed here, and it got so rough. Get Daddy in this hole. You can get under the house. Well, Daddy said, "Hey, let's get under the house." I said, "I ain't getting under the house." Yeah, it tore the pins up. It tore the fences up. It tore the windmills up. Blew the windmills down. 200-mile-an-hour wind now, partner. It leaned the fences over, and the mills come apart. Some of them blowed over. There's a lot of money spent after Hurricane Carter. I was just out of high school. I had to I was going to Victoria College. Anyway, they had in Flashes there was a pavilion. They called it the pavilion. You could drive out there, turn around, drive back, drop people off, and go in there. And big steps there. You go up there and go in the pavilion, dance hall, big dance hall. Harry James, you remember Harry James Orchestra? And a lot of major bands played there.
Some music, please. 1, 2.
What is it, Lawrence? Well, yeah, he's there. He's a hell of a deal. So anyway, one night, me and old Bernie Kessler, he was a friend of mine. I don't know, I was always dressed like a cowboy. For some reason, we had our suits on that night. We was dressed up in with our suits on. I don't remember why. I don't know. I tried to remember why. Some kind of punching. We might have been looking a little extra, maybe. Well, maybe we was going to get lucky. I don't know. But anyway, sometimes I'd sing a song. The band would play there, and I knew all of them. And sometimes I'd sing a song, 1 or 2 a night. I don't know if I sang that night or not. I forgot, maybe. Just a couple of songs, because I knew them. I don't know, sitting in La La, waiting on my ya-ya or something like that. I don't know. Or Chantilly Lace with a pretty face, something like that. I don't remember. But anyway, I knew all the fucking songs. But anyway, they're sitting on a table right beside the band. And we're sitting there bullshitting. And I didn't know her at all, but Sylvia come walking by, and she bumped into me. I thought it was an accident. And when she did, about half knocked me off that table, and I looked and I said, "God damn, Bernie, who in the hell was that?" He said, "You dumb son of a bitch, you don't know who that is?" I said, "No, I've never seen her before in my life." I said, "Damn." He said, "Well, that's the Grenada Queen." I said, "That's Sylvia Conley from Grenada." I said, "Damn, boy," and a bell went off in my head. Partner. Ding, dong, ding. Wasn't no little ding-a-ling. None of that shit. It was ding-ass dong. I said, "Bernie, I'm going to go dance with her." He grabbed me by the arm and pulled me back. He said, "Hey, are you sure going over there?" I said, "How come?" He said, "Well, first thing, you're too damn ugly." He said, "Secondly, she ain't going to dance with you." I said, "How come?" He said, "That's a stuck-up bitch." I said, "Bernie, that girl going to dance with me if I got to drag her out there by a hind leg." And he said, "Well, good luck." So I went back there, asked her to dance, and she put her hand in mine. 43 years. What do you think? I come walking out there when she got up. She would come right on the dance floor. When I walked by Bernie, Bernie said, "You son of a bitch." Yeah, and she the one found me. I never would have noticed her. And she had bet her table that she could get me to dance with her. Yeah. She almost proposed to me. Yeah. And we was the best of buddies, I'll tell you. We never argued. I don't believe you can ask the girls. Do y'all ever see Mom and Daddy argue? We never argued. We laughed. We got in trouble or something, we'd laugh about it. Well, might as well laugh about it. What's the difference in laughing about it and getting mad about it? You tell me the difference. Ain't no difference. Ain't no difference because it's already happened. So it's like you break down on a tractor. You get mad. I told a man the other day, "Damn, broke down." He said, "Hell, that's the best thing ever happened to you." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, if you ain't breaking down, you ain't making no money." I said, "Dadgum, I like the sound of that." Because I made some money with it before it broke down. But you have to pay a whole bunch to get it fixed, too. But it's the same thing. And she done had her gown and everything. They was fixing to send out invitations and stuff. She said, Hensley, why we want to spend all that money? We'll be a long time paying for all that stuff. Said, let's just go get married. We went down to see the preacher at Methodist Church there, and Mother and Daddy showed up, and my brother. And the people we were staying with, Ada and Henry Hannock, stood up with us. And that's it. We was married. Just like that. Yeah, it's a shame she ain't still with us. Them kids loved her. She was our hub. That lady worked. You know, when I first married her, she couldn't cook nothing. She could cook a egg, boil the egg. I guarantee you, when she got through with it, you go golfing with that egg. I guarantee you, maybe make it to the first hole with it. I don't know, but some of it was hard. And then she could make spaghetti, and that's about it. And it wasn't really good. And then she tried cooking, and I'd tell her, "Sit in." That's terrible. Oh, I'd make her mad. So she'd call Mother. She'd slip off and call Mother. Mother would tell her, you know. And then I don't know how long that went on. First time she cooked a roast, had it in a big old pot. We were going to a horse race in Goliad. Some of my friends from down here were coming over. She's cooking that roast. Oh, she's proud of herself, but she picked that lid up and turned it the wrong way. And that steam come out of that pot and burned. I had to take her to the hospital. That was lesson number one. I guess, I don't know. But then she became one of the best cooks. She cooked every day. The deep freeze was full of meat. She went to the grocery store all the time. Fed the kids every evening. They'd come in and we'd find out what they did. I went to work for Bill Nobles for air conditioner. He owned Comfort Air in Victoria. I put my application in for a policeman. Daddy told me, boy, you take that out, you kill somebody. He said, if somebody's smart off you, you'd kill them. So I took that out. And I put an application out there to Bill Nobles, and actually, at 3 o'clock one evening, he called me. He said, you still want that job? You put that application? Yes, sir. Be there at 8 o'clock in the morning. He said, no, if you want it, you come right now. Jess Brown's fixing to go to Refugio, service the house. You're going to be his helper. So I worked there for about 6 months, and then Ralph Muth out of Victoria had built an installation. There's a branch there in the same building where building installation Comfort Air was. And Jack Jackson wanted to know if I wanted to go work in the office for him because he sold insulation. So he wanted me to stay in the office and sell insulation and take bids and stuff while he went on the road. So I went to work there. And then my wife was working in the beauty shop there in Victoria, Joe's Beauty Shop. And we put one of our checks in the bank and we lived off the other one. And so I'll come out here and put an application in at Alcoa. And went to work for Alcoa right away. I worked in precipitation, started out as a laborer. I worked at the docks for a long time. Them barges coming in with that bauxite, worked down there. Worked all up in them gantries. Man, that's a job. Them gantries get plugged up. You had to take a 20-foot air lance with air on it way up there at 90 foot, walk out on that grating, and chunk that down in there with air on it and break that dirt and stuff off them walls. It just get where it wouldn't be nothing in there, you know. You couldn't put nothing through it. You had to clean it. It was a bad job. And clean the belt, the dust get on them belts and stuff. It was a lot of work, so it was dusty. And then I went up there in the tunnels. When they make a run to go up to the A-tire up there at Digestion, they got tunnels under the ground. And the D8 cat pushing that bauxite over, and then they falling down on that belt way down in that tunnel, and it makes a run and runs up there and it's dusty. Man, it was dusty. And you had a mask on, but it didn't help nothing. So I moved from there over to precipitation. And I went in that department. There's pipelines running everywhere. Every one of them does one thing. So I went to work in there, and they called me Weaver. I didn't know nothing, not a thing, but I mastered it. I mastered that department. They called me Weaver, and I was a laborer. And I told them boys, I said, they bunch of stupid son of guns, live from week to week. And I'm a leader, really. I'm more of a leader. I told them boys, I said, y'all laugh and call me anything you want to. I don't care. I said, before I leave here, I'm going to be y'all's boss. Oh, they laughed like hell. It was funny as hell. So then I went from the labor to utility, and then the goose job come open. That's why they're scaling them tanks, and they got a goose. You run under there, got a big thing in the front, trip like this. And you got a clamshell on the bottom of that tank, and as they're scaling, that scale's falling out. You load that goose till you dump it in a boxcar. I took that job for a long time. And then I got the charge job. Well, I was charging them tanks. And then started vacation relief for foremen. I didn't want it. I wanted to stay over where I could monkey with people. I agitated a lot of people. It's fun. Now you get fired for it, they tell me. But then I started relieving them foremen when they went on vacation. That's a lot of work. You had 16 men under you. You got to know every job, every line, everything. I mean, everything. You couldn't, you get on, had a bicycle. You go to one operator around when you go to work, check it, make sure everything, somebody did a crew before you didn't do or something, It was a pretty good job, but it was easy. It wasn't all that hard. You just had to know what you're doing, just like anything else. So I wanted to stay on my charge job. But then one of the foremen got sick, and he had to quit, and they retired him, and they gave me that job. And they'd tried to make me a foreman 2 or 3 times, and I turned it down every time. But I wanted to stay home. And finally, I said, well, hell, if I got to work vacation relief, might as well take the damn thing. I was always working the foreman job. So I took crew 4, and I worked about a year and quit. I said, Sil, come here. He said, what do you want? I said, we got to have a conference. He said, okay, what are we going to talk about? I said, I think I'm just going to quit our Corps. She said, I don't know how come you ain't already quit. Yeah, that's it. That's a mate, partner. I done leased all this land up here, 2,000 acres, and had all this. We had a little production for a while. And on that country up there, well, I got all the cattle here. It was all mine after Mother died. So, but I had half the cattle when Daddy died. Mother gave me half the cattle to take care of her. See? And she lived to be 83. And I didn't think I ever was going to lose my mama. Boy, I tell you, that was a loss. Oh, man, all them Hensley girls were good people. There's 5 of them. And then I was working Jimmy Hayes' cattle up here. I wasn't charging him nothing. He said, Hensley, it ain't fair you come up here looking after my stuff, not getting paid. And he said, what kind of deal you want to make? I said, hey, I don't know. Hell, you don't have to pay me nothing. He said, yeah, it ain't fair. He said, how would you like to buy half the cattle? I said, hell yeah. He said, Hensley, I know you ain't got no money. I'll go your note. Yeah, he went my note, but it wasn't but $69,000. So he went my note, and I never kept any of that money. We had what you call a distribution of funds every year, me and Hayes, and I kept the books. Only time he wanted to see them books, income tax time. And but it wasn't paying very much for the lease either. $6, I believe, maybe. I don't know. I can't remember. But anyway, I let all when we had the distribution of funds, what I made, I just let it go back. In the 4th year, we had a distribution of funds, and I like $5,000 to have it all paid off. So I called Sylvia. I said, Sil, you reckon we can scrape up $5,000? She said, what do you want to do, buy another dog? I said, no, sweetie, no. I said, $5,000 we'll have Hayes and Brooke and all paid off. She said, yeah, we got it somewhere. Let's go look, see if we can find it. So we found $5,000. We had a little more than that, but we were down there broke. So we paid it off and owned half the cattle up there. Now we got to try and do something. And then we had to buy our own insurance, That was a lot of money. But anyway, about 3 or 4 years passed and Hayes died. He had Parkinson's disease. He died, and then Catherine, his wife, and I was in partners for about 2 or 3 years. And they come to me and asked me if I wanted to buy the rest of the cattle and lease the land. I said, yes, ma'am. So I didn't have the money. I didn't have the money, but you know, when somebody offers you something, whether you think you can buy it or pay for it or not, you better take it, because if you don't, somebody else going to. So I took it. So I went over here to IBC. It wasn't IBC then, it was something else. Walked in there, I didn't know a soul. But Fred Knipton come walking by. He knew me, I didn't know him. He called me by my name. Hensley, what you never been in here? What are you doing coming in? I said, I need some money. I didn't know who the hell he was. He said, come over. I said, I'm Fred Knipton. He said, come over and sit down at my desk. Let's talk about this. So I went over and sit down, talked to him a little while, and he said, what you want to do? I said, well, I need $92,000. I'm going to buy some cattle. He said, what you got for collateral? I said, what do you mean? He said, you got to fill out a financial report. I said, Mr. Fred, I ain't filling out shit. He said, well, that's how dumb I was. I said, Mr. Fred, I don't want nobody knowing what I got. He said, well, you're going to have to fill out a financial report. And he said, it ain't hard. He said, I'll help you. I said, I don't need no help. I can fill it out. But I filled it out. I didn't put everything I had down there half-assed. He'll give it to him. He said, well, I already knew Harry Frankson. He was the vice president of the bank. I didn't know him. So I give that financial report to Fred. He said, tomorrow evening we're having a meeting. And come back late tomorrow evening, and I'll let you know if you got your. He said, but we're going, if they okay it, I'm going to give you 100, because you're going to need some operating money. Well, I didn't really want it, but I took it. So I come back, and I said, and I went to Mr. Fred's desk, and I said, well, what happened? He said, Harry Franklin said that we can't loan Hensley Weaver $100,000, we need to get out the banking business. So I got that $100,000, and I let all that go back. I let everything I made on that last bunch of cattle, I let it go back. 4 years. 4 years, I paid the note off in 4 years, $100,000. Yes, sir. And Fred got mad at me. He said, I ain't ever loaning you no more money. He said, don't ever come back in here. I ain't loaning you no more money. I think he was kidding. Fred was a good man. Religious, very religious. Really a good man. He helped me. Harry Frankson and I graduated right out of high school. We was at the bottom of the class, me and Harry. And we was arguing about everybody else arguing about who was going to be top of the class. Me and Harry was arguing about which one of us going to be at the bottom. Yeah. Well, I got to walk across stage. He had to go to summer school. And now there he is, vice president of the bank. See? And we talked about him. He died here a while back. Before he died, we got to talking about it. I said, Harry, you remember all them smart son of bitches we went to school with? I thought they were so smart, never amounted to nothing. And we was at the bottom of the class, and look what we'd done. I said, well, you just got to have the want to. Cancer ate her up. She's a beautician, and I don't know, she smoked. And all that permanent solution, acid, hairspray and stuff, she inhaled, didn't wear no mask. And so she smoked too. And she started coughing and carrying on a pretty good while before we found out she had cancer, but she was scared to go to the doctor. She was afraid of the doctor, and you damn near had to tie her and give her a shot. And I kept telling her, Sue-Ann, sweetheart, you need to go to the doctor. You ain't supposed to be coughing like that. So one morning we was making the bed up, and I was on one side and she was on the other. She said, Hensley, I'm out of breath. I got to sit down. I said, get your ass in the car. It's too late. Too late. Stage 4. You done eat up part of a lung, eat up 2 ribs, and ended up eating her throat out. She lived about 2.5 months after we found out. We tried to give her medicine to have. She couldn't take it because she couldn't swallow it. It's pitiful. Pitiful. Died at 65. Yeah. But I couldn't do nothing about it, I guess that's the good Lord. That's as long as He wanted me to have her. 43 years. We had a lot of fun. She was a sweetheart, I tell you. And I could tell you some wild ass stories. That girl, she was ready anytime. One time, I'll not tell it. But Robin got some couple of joints from somebody when she was going to school over and she was game for anything. She was ready for anything. And then she come home and said, "Mama, some old boy gave me a couple of joints. What were we supposed to do with them?" And Sylvia said, "Shit, let's smoke them." So we had a sauna out there in the backyard. They was in that sauna. And they done smoked them joints, and it's about half loop-headed. And looked down the road, and here I come in with a horse and a trailer from working cattle. They didn't know what to do. They got out of that sauna. Sylvia was washing dishes. The girls was making the bed up. I don't know who all was smoking that stuff. And I went to the barn, unsaddled my horse, caught another one for the next morning, and went to check water. They were sure glad I did it because they was done looped up on that Mary Jane. I don't know. I didn't find that out for a long time. But that's the kind of girl she was. She was ready to go. Mm-hmm. She never did smoke no marijuana, but she smoked cigarettes. Smoked them all the time and then said she quit. But she didn't quit. She was fooling me. But she didn't quit. I knew she was smoking. Yeah, it's hard to quit when you get hooked on them, I guess. I don't know. I quit. I used to smoke. It's simple. It's simple. You gotta want to. You ain't gonna quit unless you don't. If you don't want to, you ain't gonna quit. If you want to, you quit. I was running the cattle over the Benning Ranch over at LaSalle. Over there running the cattle by myself, horseback. And they just got through mowing a Sendera down to the bay. Thickening cattle, a lot of cattle like it, around on them salt banks, and it got bluffs and stuff on them bay banks and creek banks and stuff. And the dogs would run that cattle across that Sendera. They'd turn him and come back, running back and forth. Did that 2 or 3 times, not smoking. I was riding that old horse right there, old Sauter did. And I said to myself, Hensley, now what are you accomplishing by sucking and blowing that smoke out? So I took a couple more drags, and I said, damn, Hensley, you didn't see nothing that you was getting accomplished, did you? I said, no, I didn't. Talking to myself. So I put my cigarette out on my flank rigging, on my billet, and I had a half a pack of cigarettes, and I threw them over the bluff over at the Benning Ranch. That was '69. And I ain't had another cigarette since. Well, I was a laborer, and Victor Yannick was a utility man. So, been working graveyards. Went down to the office and said, Wheezy, what you want us to do tonight? He said, y'all clean up the area, and if the tank pumps off, clean the tank and put it back in service. Okay. So we go out there to get the goose with it. Mr. Foppy was the foreman before that, and I always messed with him a lot. But anyway, they had them spike heads. They're about that long, and then I think they're lead. I don't know, but we use them for bombs. We call them bombs. We take them up to the top of them precipitated and drop them to 90 foot to the bottom. Try to hit that scale and buck it up so we could shake it out. So we go back to the office, and there's 2 bombs in there. And Travis Dennis says, whatever you do, don't haul any more bombs to building 15. That's the bauxite building. And they got to make another run, and them bombs, and then they tear up their magnet and their grinders that grind up them big pieces and stuff. So there's 2 that said, what must we do? We just said, just dump it on the floor. So, okay, boy, it tickled the shit out of me. So we worked all night long, and about 30 minutes before quitting time, we drove by there, and I was driving the cat, and Victor was sitting up on the side. It's supposed to have been ass, but he's supposed to have been driving the cat, and I was supposed to be sitting up on the side. So I said, Victor, get off. I went up to that pot of scale, and I put that bucket down, and I scooped it up and dumped it on top and went around the other side. It looked just like a grave. And I already called him Mr. Foppy, old man Foppy. And that was his business. So I went to the shop. Victor knew where there was some nigger-toed flowers growing out at the building 144 down there at the end of the building. He picked them up, and I went to the roundhouse and got an old broke shovel and a pair of boots and a pair of gloves and an old helmet. put on top of that grave, and on the back of that shovel, I stuck it down in that foam ring scale. And I said, "Here lies old man Foppy." And we went home. The next morning, we was gone. We went back on a Tuesday morning. We was off all weekend plus Monday, and went back on a Tuesday morning. So when I come in the building, I was there when the whistle blew, but I was on the outside of the building. I didn't go to the roundhouse like everybody was there, because I looked over and there's Mr. Poppy waiting on us over there at the roundhouse. So I didn't go in. So I seen Mr. Poppy leave, and I went on over to the shack. About that time, Travis Dennis, the department head, he says, "Hensley Weaver and Victor Yannick come to the office." I said, "Oh shit, Victor, we're in trouble." Well, I knew we wasn't in trouble because Travis Dennis come out here deer hunting. Him and Daddy was big buddies, and I had it made. That's the reason I could do all that shit. And Victor was scared. So we walk in there, and Travis says, "Now, Weaver, did you build that grave, old man Poppy?" and he had no business calling him old man Poppy. I done called him old man Poppy so much that the department head was calling him old man Poppy. I said, "Travis, I cannot tell a lie. I most definitely did." He said, "Weaver," said, "I told you to quit instigating. Said, I was trying to make a foreman out of you." Well, I didn't even know that. He said, "Go out there and clean that grave up." And Weezy said, "Them boys ain't got time to be cleaning up no damn grave. They got work to do." Travis said, "Well, goes out there and tears it up anyway." That was just one. And then another time, Weezy and Poppy didn't get along, old man Poppy. And we was working days, and me and Victor, we cleaned the office. You tell we was jack all trades around there. So we cleaned the office, got it all, and it had, them aluminum chairs. They just solid aluminum, got a little sway in them. We got through cleaning the office. I went and got some water, and I poured it in that chair. Here comes old man Poppy. Him and Weezy don't get along. They're about half fight anytime. He sits down in that water, and his ass is wet, and the water flies all out on the floor, and he gets mad at Weezy. He damn near got in a fight. Weezy just barely got it. Oh man, but he said, "God damn it, Weaver. Now I want to tell you, Weaver, you quit messing with that old man." He said, "Somebody's gonna kill me if you do any more shit to him." But another time I hung a letter. The department head leaves a little letter where he wants the next crew to do something, and he hangs it on the clothesline. Well, there wasn't nothing on that clothesline. So I went and sat down in Travis Dennis' office like I was the boss. And I wrote on a note, "If you can't do your job, step aside and let a young man in. Sign it, fellow worker, and sign it to Mr. Poppy, old man Poppy." He saw that son of a bitch. Well, he had a regular ritual crying spell about that. He told me he wanted to get hold of my ass. But the bad thing about it, they had a cutback. And I had to go to old man Poppy's crew. Oh, shit. Man, that's a bad deal. So the first day I went to work for him, he come in there, he looked at me and said, "Weaver, you got to go out there and clean that ditch and build me some little graves." I said, "Yes, sir. Can I use the tractor?" "Nope. You jackhammer it out and you throw it right up on the side. I just want you to build me a bunch of little graves." I said, "Yes, sir." So about 1 o'clock, I was at labor, and old Louis Rue was a utility man. He comes to me, he says, "Weaver, we got a dirty tank." He said, "Let's go clean that tank." I said, "Rue, you ugly son of a bitch, I ain't gonna clean no tank. Mr. Poppy told me to build graves, and I am building graves." So Rue goes to see Mr. Poppy. Directly he comes back. He said, "Mr. Poppy said for you to go help me clean that tank." I said, "Mr. Poppy told me to build graves. He ain't told me shit. I'm building graves." He goes back to Mr. Old Man Poppy again and comes back. Same thing. Directly here comes Mr. Poppy on his bicycle. He comes up to me, sticks his hand out, shook hands with me, and said, "Weaver, you got me." He said, "Okay, we'll be buddies. Don't be messing with me no more." He said, "You got me, son." I'm, I ain't no, I can take jokes, but it said you made me mad a lot of times, but it said you made me glad too. So he shook hands with me with his buddies after that. Old Gus Taylor, he worked out there at the plant. He worked with me. He lived in Grenada. And he's a big old tall German boy, awkward as hell. And he's a pump off man. He rode a bicycle. When the tank pump off, he'd jump on that bicycle and he'd go down it. Easier to get to it, it'd be a little faster. So one time there was a rope tied up there on the side of it. There was a rope laying by his bicycle, and I know how to tie all them cowboy knots. So I put a bowline around the top of it, underneath his seat, and tied it off one of them columns. He took off, and he was double pumping. I said, "Oh my God!" And I told everybody about it. We was hiding behind them columns watching. And Howard Humberg said, "Oh my God, where were you done killed? You done killed Gus." It scared the shit out of me because that rope was just swinging like he was going so fast coming unwound. And finally, when he hit the end of that rope, we was all scared to death. I just knew I done killed Gus. That big ugly son of a bitch, that bicycle stretched about as far as from here to that cabinet over and maybe a little further, and Gus went right over the handlebars. That son of a bitch got up and looked around to see if anybody was looking, like he didn't know what the hell was going on. And he looked and he seen that rope tied off that collar. That son of a bitch. Have you ever hemmed the house cat up in the garage out there and go to whooping that son of a bitch with a broom and he can't get away from you? Well, you ought to try it sometime. That son of a bitch, you get a look in his eyes. He get a look in his eyes with you don't. That son of a bitch is mad. If you get too close, that son of a bitch gets just about to jump on your ass. Well, that's what the look Gus had in his eyes. And then I would ride my bicycle and I'd find a rope and I'd put that rope beside my bicycle and I'd go off somewhere, you know. And Gus would he'd try to get me. Of course, I didn't set him up to start with, see. I'd take that rope and untie it and just ride off. Old Gus said, "God damn." Another time, I took an old stinking rotten glove and filled it up full of water. And I took that thing and I chunked it and hit old Gus right upside the head. It just splattered everywhere. It was fixing to go home. Gus done filled him up a glove. And I snuck around the corner of the building and I stuck my hat up to the crack. And Gus thought it was me. He chunked it and hit my hat. And I said, "Gus, I'm gonna stand right here on top of this drain and I ain't gonna move." And somebody had run a tank over and that caustic was slick right there by the office. And I ain't gonna move, Gus. You can just hit me. I'm going to the shower anyway. He reared back and he chunked that Gus. When he chunked it so hard, he fell on his ass. It fell on the floor. And slick caustic, slick, you know. And he ain't never got me. You know, and he was dying. And Blondie called me and said, "Hensley, that's been about 2 years ago now." And Gus was dying. And Blondie called me, his wife said, "Hensley, Gus wants you to come up and visit with him." Yeah. And he was in bed. Yeah. And last time I ever seen him. He's a good guy. Remember that little donkey I had here? I sold it to him. Yeah, I told him he was going to watch his goats and stuff. Some bitch went to killing his goats.
You weren't good for him.
Yeah, poor old guy.
Almost.
Why did he want you to come see him?
Oh, we was good buddies, but we messed with one another. I had a lot of more stories. I was an instigator.
A friend of mine from Victoria, another guy we cat hunted with, got a hold of me because they were looking for some more property to go hunting, and they came out, and I went once, and then went again, went like 8 times before I caught my first cat. And then when I caught the first cat, I just got plumb addicted to it. I wanted dogs, I wanted a dog box, I wanted a dog pen, I wanted everything.
Yeah, when we first started, I told John, you ain't think you can pick up just any dog. You just take your time.
It took a while to build my pack, but
And when a good dog comes up, a good pup or something, we'll get him. We'll build you a good pack. We ain't having no sorry dogs. We gonna have all good ones. And dogs that are cat dogs for generations back. Well, I don't know raise no puppies. I spayed all my chips. But I know other cat hunters that got good dogs. And and they've been breeding cat dogs for a long time. And they'll call me and see if I want a puppy. Well, if I need one, I'll get one. If not, I've got enough dogs, I don't get one. But you always want to know the breeding. I know the breeding of most of all the dogs in the country. So when a good litter of pups come up, that's been good cat dogs for generations back, and you get a hold of one, because most 9 times out of 10 are gonna make #1 cat dog. The thing about it is, it fascinates me about a hound. They don't ever see the cat till they catch it. Run strictly by scent. They got your start dogs. They'll open. They smell a cat, you got a start dog, he'll open, and then they go looking for it. And then you got your jump dogs, which go out ahead of you, and your start dogs are your trailing dogs. And they'll trail it, and then you got jump dogs that goes out ahead like old don't know.
Yeah, he likes to swing out wide and get in front of that cat.
And
he thinks he knows where it's going, so he's going around.
He's a hotter-nosed dog, see, and when he finds that cat out ahead of them other trailing dogs, he'll open, and he try to hold it so the other dogs can get to him. Some of the dogs will open 2 or 3 times, you jump dogs, and the other dogs don't have a time to get to him. But don't know when he that's the kind you want, because he'll hold it, till the other dogs get there, and the trail's hotter. So they may have to trail a little more, maybe not too much, but when Dono opens, it's hot. Your cat race is taking place. No, they don't bother them too much, but the worst thing is they get bit in the ankle.
Yeah, sometimes they
let that fluid out of that ankle run out, but they usually get over it.
Like you think about, say that cat grabs a dog, or they're trying to, like that cat grabs a dog, then there's another dog grabbing the cat, so the cat lets go of that thing. That's why there's not really, like maybe a dog might get bit, might not, or the cat will grab it, but there's always another dog grabbing, like, they're trying to grab it, and if it's on, they catch it on the ground, they're all picking at it, trying to kill it.
I had a dog called Grinder. And I bought that dog. I lost a dog from a rattlesnake back there. It was a good jump dog. So I called a buddy that lives out of Uvalde and see if I could get a dog from him. And he sold me a dog. His name was Grinder. And he told me, he said, when old Grinder gets to a cat, he don't stop. He'd kill one by himself.
Like a hound dog, but it was like a pit bull. He wasn't scared.
I've never seen a hound that aggressive in my life. And that cat didn't even know he was coming. When old Grinder get there, he got him, and then the other dogs stretch him out. But we lost old Grinder here a while back, and they're having a little hard time killing the cat now, because some of them old big tomcats, they're pretty tough. They'll stand a bunch of dogs off. But but that's what gets me, is how they can trail a cat, strictly by scent. And if they tree it, you got to have what you call a locator. And the dog that'll tree without seeing the cat. Now, any dog, if they can see the cat up the tree, they'll tree. But if they can't see them, then
they got to make sure smell it going
up.
They got
to be what you call locators. Rest of them might tree, but they're not locators. You got to have a dog when that cat goes up, that dog tree right away. That way you know where the cat is. And they don't even see the cat till you jump it out or run it again, or whatever you want to do. We usually jump them out and run them again, because it make, and the young dogs, you got young dogs coming all the time. So that's how you train your young dogs, when you have jump outs. And them young dogs, they go crazy.
You jump the cat out, they run it again, they'll tree it again. And, just like if you have young dogs, it just helps them, just good training, having the dogs having it treed and jump it out, let it run again, or have it stop on the ground, have them bay it up or whatever. And another way we train dogs is, he has friends in town that'll catch a stray alley cat, and we'll cage it, take it out, and we'll go put it in the brush, and we'll come back here, get a couple dogs, just like 1 or 2 dogs and some young dogs, that take and go run that house cat, and teach them to bobcat hunt that way too. That's another learning technique, is running a stray feral cat, like alley cat.
There's so many feral cats, wild as hell.
And the felines, like the mountain lion puts off the same scent as a bobcat. Bobcat puts off the same scent as a wild feral cat. It's kind of like down the line, they're all the same.
Some people say a house cat, a bobcat will smell a little more, and a lion will smell a little stouter. But I was talking to a lion hunter the other day, he said, Mine smells the same as a bobcat.
It's weird.
I
You used
got
to have
one here
a
now.
barn cat here, and the dogs would be all around it and wouldn't touch it.
Yeah, I had one here, old Grinder.
Yeah, he'd
Old
run any
Grinder.
cat.
But you know, a white and yellow, he finally lived, and him and Grinder got to be buddies. They'd eat together. But I
Yeah.
still got a white and yellow, and I got 2 puppies. So them puppies has been after a white and yellow. The other day, I wish you could have seen it. They got on top of my deep freeze out there in the equipment shed, and white and yellow did, and them puppies had him treed. And they're just 3 months old now. That's what I'm telling you. That's what you got to have
Gotta make
generation
cat
back.
dogs.
Them puppies come from generation back, solid cat dogs now. Oh hell, there ain't no way you can't keep them. They're already house cat dogs, 3 months old. So old white and yellow that had him made. So I knocked over. I've done it a bunch of times. Old white and yellow, he's my old house cat. I knocked him off of that cooler, and the son of a bitch run up underneath my pickup, and the puppy had him bayed under my pickup. I knocked him off that pickup. Up under the pickup, he run behind some boards in my equipment shed. And I got one of them cow poking sticks. I whooped old white and yellow, and he come out and run under my pickup and went to the barn, climbed up on top of the saddle house. And them puppies right in after him, 3 months old. So they're already house cat dogs. They ain't gonna take much. They're gonna be cat dogs, bobcat dogs. I was hunting down in South Texas with them cat hunters down there, and we left camp. We didn't hunt about 2 or 3 days. The dogs were about half wore out, and Mr. Poole said, "Weaver, you turn your dogs loose. You start the cat." I said, "Okay." So I had an old Jip called Dinah, and she was a young Jip, you know, but she'd run anything with hair on it. If she run across a coyote, she'd run the coyote. Run a coon, run the coon. Put her in a cat race, she'd help you catch that cat now. And I thought she was trashing for a long time. I bet I shocked her 100 times for trashing. She'd get, and about the last 2 or 3 times I was shocking her, yeah, well, I didn't know it, but she done switched off of all that trash, and she was solid on cats. We was hunting down an old dirty ass road down there in a white brush thicket there. And you have your best cat races in a white brush thicket, pretty thick. Well, old Dinah opened off down in that thicket. And one of the hunters said, "Now, what's she doing?" And he's kind of a sarcastic man. I said, "I don't know what she's doing. She may have a cat, she may have a coon." I said, "You've been bragging on how broke your dogs are. Send them down there.
Turn them loose.
Send them down there and let's see if she's got a cat." "Oh, I ain't sending my dogs down there." Well, I had 5 dogs across the right of way in front of us down there going to her. I said, "Well, just wait a minute." I said, "I got my dogs going to her. If they get there and they fall in there with her, well, it's a cat." I didn't know what she'd done because I thought she's still trashing. And when they got down there, oh man, hell broke loose down there. And they come run that cat right up to us, and they treated in a mesquite tree. And that mesquite tree around it was solid cactus. I never seen so much cactus. And that cat, and Mr. Ward, he was there with us, and he said, he had some dogs. He said, "Mr. Weaver," said, "can I turn my dogs into your cat race?" Yeah. I said, "Y'all unload. Y'all unloaded everybody." So I went out there and I climbed up the tree to jump that cat out. And I got right close to the cat. And I took my fist and I hit him in the head with my fist. And that cat jumped. And he jumped at me, but he jumped to hit me on top of the head, hit me on top of my hat, and jumped over and hit the ground. And he hit the ground through that cactus. I ain't never seen so much. I bet there was 20 dogs there. And you ain't seen so much cactus flying all your life.
Wow.
It come out of there running, and they treated it again, and then we jumped it and they caught it. That happened a long time, but there's so many cat races.
Some people do call us and we'll go do a nuisance call or something like that, but most of the time it's kind of just a hobby, fun kind of thing. You know, we're real
We
fortunate.
just meet and turn
We're
the
real
dog
fortunate
loose
to
and go
get to
hunt.
do it, and you know he'll show up at the house at 5:30 in the morning. I'll load up the Can-Am and the buggy, and he'll meet me at the barn and turn the dogs out, and we load up and we just start roading the dogs. And you know, and that's what bobcats do. Bobcats love walking roads, so a lot of the times they're starting the scent off a road, and then they'll take the cat into the brush and jump it, and then the races.
You can look ahead. You can look ahead with the dogs. You can tell if they smell a cat.
You know, they're wagging their tails a certain
They call
way.
it flagging.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
You see, we knock
they'll
all
just
them
be
dogs'
running with the
tails.
dead
You'll
tail,
see.
and they'll just be like,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
They're
yeah.
all smelling, doing that thing, and then,
You know, they come to life.
And then, maybe one dog will open here and there, then they'll just start trailing that cat out and trying to find it.
Yeah.
It's not one or two dogs barking, it's 20 dogs barking it. So it's just one roar. It's not really a dog bark, it just turned into a roar.
They ain't no hippie band in this world make better rackets.
And you know that cat is running for its freaking life. And sometimes we've had plenty of cats get away. They just evaporate. We don't know what happens. It's just, that's the name of the game.
That disintegrated on this other night up there.
I had a good race for a little while, and it just, I have a GPS screen in my Can-Am, and it's linked up, and I watch my dogs on the screen.
You
And it's all got satellite imagery, so I know what brush they're in.
We can
and all
tell.
that good stuff.
We can tell on that screen if they're trailing, or if you got a jump cat race.
Or if the cat's up a tree and they're all just conglomerated in one spot. Dogs on top of, the GPSs are just on top, stacked on one another. I know that cat's up a tree and they're just on the base of that tree. And he'd run, hundreds of cats horseback, not with a buggy. Following the dogs on horseback.
Yeah, he used to hunt horseback all the time. Fun. He was a little kid. My little brother went over to my uncle was a cat hunter. My daddy was a cat hunter. My grandpa before that was a cat hunter. Long line. It's bred in me. Just flat bred in me. Yeah, like that. Me and them dogs are a pack.
Yeah, we're part of the pack.
We're part of the pack. But let me tell you the first one when I was a little boy. It's a funny story. Went over to my uncle's house and they were going to go cat hunting. And they let me and the little brother and my cousin go. And we were sitting up on top of the dog crate. An old 48 Ford pickup way back there. We were about 6 years old. And went down on the creek there behind my uncle's house, and we didn't know what the hell was going on. Always know the dogs were barking. So my Uncle Cub said, they got him treed. So we went up there, and me and my little brother and my cousin been fighting over who was going to climb the tree and jump the cat out. So when we got up there, shined the light on the cat, and that cat wasn't much higher than that ceiling. I don't know why he didn't go no higher, but he was right there. My daddy said, all right, goddamn, you boys been fussing on making all this racket. Can't hear the dogs all damn. Which one of y'all gonna climb that tree? Y'all been fussing about who's gonna climb the tree. And my cousin said, I can't climb that tree. My little brother said, I can't either. Daddy said, Hensley, get your ass up that tree. I said, I can't climb that tree either. And scared, we were scared to death, And my uncle took a little stick to hit that cat in the ass with that stick. How'd he come? There wasn't nothing to it. It ruined me right there. I was running right there. Hooked. And then they'd come over here to the house. We live right down there. They'd come over here with all them dogs, and I'd want to go cat hunting with them so bad, they'd make me stay at the house. And that's another reason he made a cat hunter out of me, because he wouldn't let me go when I wanted to go. I could go. I could ride like hell. Oh, yeah. He made a cat hunter out of me because he wouldn't let me go. I wanted to go bad. After that first cat, man, that's all. And then when I was 9 years old, Daddy bought me an old hound. His name was Andy, black and tan dog. Give $20 for him. Back in $20, man, you could live off of $20 for 2 weeks buying bread and beans. But anyway, you get $20 for Andy. And I had a single shot 22, a carbide light, and a wide flashlight. And away I went. And I'd go by myself, 9 years old. Daddy'd take me down to the creek about 2 miles down here and turn me loose. And I'd try to hunt my way back. But it's hard to find him. You got lucky, if you found him with that darn carbide light and a wide flashlight. Yeah.
Technology back then was just something else.
A bad thing happened. Andy was a tree climbing son of a gun.
Ooh.
And he climbed up in that tree and he fell out and he broke both front legs. I couldn't. And so I went to the house and I cried like a baby. And I went to the house, got Daddy. Daddy said, you know where he is? Daddy went down there and shot him for me. That was my first dog. But I had hounds all my life, puppies and stuff, because Daddy hunted them, I played with them all my life. Yeah. One time I had a little puppy, Daddy gave him to me. I think he took him away from me when Hensley, but he let me have him. And I was barefooted, and I had him, and I was going to go hunt him. He's a little old puppy, and he got tired of going down those dusty trails. He's right down here by his house. And I picked him up, and I was going to carry him back to the house. And I stepped on something. I knew it wasn't no cow mess. There was a damn rattlesnake. Stepped right in the middle of that snake, and I jumped. I knew what it felt like. And I was barefooted with shorts on. I chunked that puppy as high as I could, and I jumped even higher, I believe. And that puppy hit the ground. He knocked him plumb out. And I said, "They're going to kill my dog." But then he could come to and woke up, and I went and picked up a stick and killed that rattlesnake. That's all we had to do when I was growing up. We didn't have no toys. We played with rattlesnakes, armadillos, digging armadillos out of holes, chasing rabbits. I had a little old feist dog as a rabbit. He'd get dig down and then get that rabbit out of them holes. But yeah, I had a dog all my life. You may not start a cat all night.
I went 10 times before I caught my first cat. I stayed persistent, but at my house.
was going with me, and we had good dogs.
We're just hard-lucked sometimes.
Hard-lucked.
We run a bobcat at my house for almost 4.5 hours. We had a
4 hours.
4-hour race
4
one
hours,
time.
15
ran just miles and miles in a circle, just down the creek, come up, go, doing the same thing. Went like in circles way around. We just sat still, take a nap in the buggy, let the dogs do their thing, and then we'll wake up and we hear something different. But 4 hours, the longest race was 4 hours, and then the shortest race we've had 30 seconds. They rabbit jump under the.
How long was that one last other night over there?
13 minutes the other night. We had it treed, and we jumped it out and treed it again. And I jumped it out, and the dogs killed it on the ground. There is a sport too. We don't get one.
And a lot of times we leave the cat.
Kind of like marlin fishing. You might go catch one, you might not. But when you catch one, it's terrific, and it's something you never forget.
But I've been going down to the Wind Ranch taking. Well, it started off. I started going hunting down there because I knew Joe Stiles. He was over the horses on the King Ranch. And then I kind of grew up together. And he liked the cat hunting. He had coon dogs. So he'd call me to come down there. Well, when I started hunting with Joe, I met Butch Thompson, and he was the head of wildlife on the King Ranch. And he'd take them people hunting, and they'd be shooting them $10,000 bucks. And he knew them bucks wasn't worth that much. And they'd ask him, "You want to go cat hunting?" Yeah. Well, he'd call me. So I got to know Butch Thompson real well. So I'd go down there and take his guests, and we stayed in the what do you call it? Mercantile. Well, all the hands from the King Ranch come by all this stuff. Well, they redone the upstairs on the Mercantile. It's just like a castle up there. It was really neat. And we'd stay there, and we kept the dogs down there where Old Sorrel was. You remember Old Sorrel, the famous horse from the King Ranch? We kept our dogs in that stall right across where they buried Old Sorrel. It was amazing. And so that's how I got started. And then Mr. Charlie Wynn, what I was telling you about, he found out about me, so he called me down there to take his guests cat hunting. They called me from the ranch down there. I don't know if it was Tom or who was it, or Mr. Wynn, or maybe the manager, I don't know. But they called, and my wife was living in. And she said, "Hey, the King Ranch wants to talk to you. Somebody on the King Ranch wants to talk to you." So I don't know who it was. I can't remember now. They said, "We want you to come down on the 26th and the 28th. Said, we got somebody, special guest we want you to take hunting." And I said, "Well, who is it?" Said, "Well, security reasons. I don't really want to tell you." So when I hung up, my wife said, "Who you taking?" I said, "God, dog, I can't believe it. I'm taking Reba McEntire."
Oh, shit.
She says, "You ain't going. That's it. You ain't going."
That's it.
Yeah. I said, "Yes, I am." And I said, "Before I come back home, I'm going to get something on me, too." Boy, she was madder than hell. She ain't going. Finally, I said, "Well, sweetie, I don't know." They wouldn't tell me. She come back at ease. So, but a couple of days before I went down there, they did call me and tell me I'd taken General Schwarzkopf. I could not believe that I was going to take General Schwarzkopf. He was a guest down there, and they had his son down there. His son was named Christian. And General Schwarzkopf is a big man. He's 7 foot tall. I guarantee you. And he had a son, 13 years old, damn near big as me. I met his wife, his 2 daughters. It was amazing. But anyway, when we got down there, General Schwarzkopf come right straight to me. And I had Grady Allen with me. And Grady Allen was a Navy SEAL. And when he come and he shook hands with me, and he wanted to know when's the last time I caught a cat, and I said, I caught one last night. I caught him in the maize field. And he introduced himself to me as as Norman Schwarzkopf. And I said, well, I'm Hensley Weaver. I said, I want to tell you, I watched you religiously during Desert Storm. You know, he come on every night. I don't know if you remember that. He come on every night telling the progress they'd made through the deal. And I said, I watched you very religiously, and I think you're one hell of a good leader. I said, but I am also a leader. Now get your big ass in this truck and let's go cat hunting. And I said, from now on, you ain't Norman Schwarzkopf, you're the general. And that's how that started. Well, it come a badass blue whistler northerns, raining, wind, cold. We didn't catch him a cat. The next morning, we went hunting that night. The next morning, we went, but damn, I didn't think we was going. I thought we was going to catch a cat, but it played out. So we was eating breakfast. Ray was fixing to fly him back to Miami. Mr. Wynn had a Learjet, and they was fixing to fly him back, and we was eating breakfast. And he was asking me, you know, where I lived and what all I did, and, you know, and everything. I said, I'm a rancher and a cat hunter, that's about it. And I said, if it don't have nothing to do with a cow, dog, or a horse, I don't mess with it. And a woman, but I was married at that time. But anyway, so when he was leaving, Grady and I was walking out there. We were going to do something to our dogs, where we were going to hunt that night. And Dorman, he come up to me and hugged me, said, you never know how much good you done me. And he did that twice. He hugged me like I was his brother. Said, you'll never know, Mr. Weaver, how much good you done me. And then we was going to take him again, and he died of colon cancer. Bubba, you know, he's a big golfer now. You know, he way up there. He made it big time. I seen him on TV the other day, and he was about 8 years old. And when they got down, him and Daddy got down there, they took Bubba back there and practiced shooting. Let him shoot a while, because I don't think he ever shot. So we took him hunting. I said, Bubba, he's a little old boy, can you shoot? Yes, sir. I said, how many times you shot? I said, I shot 5 times. I said, man, you can't shoot. He can't shoot. And it was fixing to come a rain. And we took him down there in a white brush thicket. Damn, we didn't start a cat right away. Run that cat around there for about 15 to 20 minutes, and they treated him right beside the damn road in a mesquite tree.
Awesome.
And I said, Bubba, we're going to let you shoot that cat. Can you shoot that cat and kill it? Yes, sir. I said, all right. And his daddy was there, Tom was there. And I said, boy, don't you miss that cat. Because if you miss him, you're going to jump him out of that tree, and he's liable to be out there 300 or 400 yards. And we'd have to go through that white brush thicket, and it's raining like hell. I mean, pouring down rain. Well, Bubba shot him and missed the cat, grazed him a little bit, and that cat come out and sure enough, 300 yards. We stumbled through that brush, and Bubba had a big old raincoat on, and it was dragging the ground. So we got the cat, killed the cat. He shot the cat that time. He killed it. And that boy was so proud of that old cat. He had him 1 foot on this side. He had him around his neck. He's a little sow cat.
Oh.
Yeah. And I think the thing was full of fleas. I don't know. Bubba didn't care. He was so proud of that cat. He packed that cat all the way, stumbling and falling. We were helping him up, this old guy. And then at supper that night, Tom was comical. He got up and talked. He talked to us about Chi Rodriguez, you know. Oh, it's funny as hell. Yeah, he talked about it, all them golfers and stuff. I was really interested.
Well, I have a dad that I look up to, and he reminds me of my father, and everything he's told me and I've learned throughout cat hunting with him. I mean, life lessons, from dog lessons to cat lessons to right and wrong and women and boozing and, you know, just all the good things in life I've learned from him.
Yeah. And your daddy.
and my daddy, everybody.
You bet.
But
And
I've been
You
fortunate.
got the one wonderful daddy you ever. We
I
both
just-
had good daddies, I'll tell you for sure.
We
My
didn't
daddy
plan to
died
meet
when
each
he was
other, but it
61.
happened, you know, and it just became a pretty good connection. He's still he's like a young man in an old guy suit. I mean, he's just like a little kid.
It's like going for the first time. Whether we catch anything or not, watch them dogs work.
Yes.
That's the deal. Watch them dogs. If a red bird fly across before daylight, that right at daylight in the morning is worth going. You don't even catch a cat. Look at the people that don't get to see that.
The sunrises
They
and the
laying up there
sunsets, we've
asleep.
seen a lot of them.
We up there. You got to be willing to lose a little sleep and be about half tough to be a cat hunter.
Yeah.
That's how simple it is. Just like that red bird flying across at daylight in front of you. You laying up there sleeping in the bed, you ain't gonna see that.
Nope.
And it's a pretty sight. Amazing. It's amazing how many people miss all of that and don't even know a thing about it. We're so excited. Man, we've been trying, and then all of a sudden, we went to see Dr. Crabtree. She said, "Damn, I feel funny." I said, "What?" She said, "I think I'm pregnant." I said, "Let's go see Dr. Crabtree." Sure enough, we were so proud. Yeah, so proud. We were going to be parents. I'm telling you, it was unreal. We were so happy. I don't know how to explain it. We were so happy. Well, I went to Dr. Crabtree. He had an office right across the street there from Detour. And so I went and laid down, went to sleep. I was sleeping when Robin was born. He come over and woke me up about 3 o'clock in the morning and said, "Hey, you're daddy." I said, "We'll call him." And damn, I slept through it. I slept through the whole deal. Yeah. And then when Raquel was born, Sylviane was still in labor. She hadn't had Raquel yet. But Dale, she had just had Sarah Ann. And she was, and little brother wasn't, we called him little brother, his name was Everett Meade. He wasn't around. I was putting cold rags on hot rags or whatever. I was taking care of Bertha Dale. She was hurting, you know. And there was Sylviane over there laboring, and I was helping Bertha Dale if she had Sarah Ann. So, but I tell you what, she was a hairdresser. Sylviane was a hairdresser. She had all 3 of them kids and never messed her hair up. Yeah, never messed her hair up one time. Not only 3 little girls, when they got bigger, they had all their buddies here. Man, I lived in a girls' dormitory. It wasn't no house. It was a dormitory. Oh, man, I tell you, we had more kids here you can shake a stick at. Just taught them how to rope. You know, they tried to rope. It wasn't too good at it, but they tried. And all 3 of them girls, you mount them up, they look good. Put leggings on them, put them on a good-looking horse. You talking about looking good. Them girls looked good, and they could ride, too. Robin was the wildest. Something run off, man, she'd fall right in behind it. I mean, right in behind it. And I said, "Robin, don't quit doing that, girl." Her hair, she'd be going so fast, her hair looked standing out like a 45 pistol. It'd stick straight out. She was running. And she'd get right on them old cows' hips and they'd bring them back to the herd, one run off. And I said, "Sweetheart, whoa, one of them old cows stumbled and fall in front of you. Where you think you're going to land? You quit getting behind them. You get over on the side of them. You're going to do that. If they fall, you won't run over them." Yeah, I had to, but she wild in the March hare. Raquel, she rode good. And Rona, we was at the auction barn one time at El Campo. And a guy that worked for me out there, Ed, I can't remember his last name. He had a little old spotted looking horse, good looking little horse. I mean, well built. Had him in a trailer, and I went up there and I said, "Ed, what you got in that trailer?" He said, I got the best kid horse in the world." I said, "Ed, get out of line. Get out of line." And I said, "When I get to unloading, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to ride him." And I didn't have nothing to ride him with, but I had a rope. So I put a rope around his neck, made me a little thing on his nose, and jumped on him and rode him all over the place. I said, "Ed, what do you want for him?" He said, $300. So I bought him home. Well, Johnny Duggar and I had bought saddles from Concho Saddlery and up the country. We went up to, I can't remember the town now where we were. I'll think of it in a minute. But the saddle had come in at the Johnny Saddle House up there. So instead of going home, my wife was with me, and I went up there to get my saddle, and I had that little horse in the trailer, little white horse. He had a little Appaloosa maybe in him, but he was really made good little horse. And he wasn't no little horse either. So Johnny said, "What you got there?" I said, "I got a good kid horse." So I jumped on him, riding around, and Johnny jumped up behind him, but Johnny put his feet in his flank, and that sucker throwed us high as a kite. Man, I mean, he went to San Angelo where we went, Concho Saddle. We bought saddles, had them made up there, good saddles. And he liked to kill both of us. Johnny said, "I don't know if I'd put a kid on that horse or not." So anyway, I took him, brought him home, and I tied him right out there, saddled. Sylvia Ann went after Rona. And when he come around the cattle guard out there, Rona seen that little spotted horse there, and she said, "Mama, whose horse is that?" And Sylvia Ann said, "That's your horse." Man, I tell you, talking about a proud little girl. You ain't ever seen nothing like it. And she named him Casper because he's white. She was so thrilled. And when he got old, them girls would get him up, and they'd wash his mane and plait his mane, plait his tail, wash him. He was too old for him to ride anymore. He lived to be a long, ripe old age. And finally he died. Yeah. But no, all the girls rode good. And they all looked good horseback too. Yeah, and then when the kids would come, they'd all go out there and catch them horses. I had an old horse, that old big horse in that picture back there in my bedroom. His name was Sorta Dead. And I was kind of running out of horses. I went to George Townsend looking for a horse up there at El Campo, at Glen Flora, really, the other side of El Campo. Looked at all them horses, and I was fixing to leave. And that old colt was in the stall there, little old stall shut up in there. And I said, "Ricky, what's that stall there?" He said, "That's old, big old, tall 2-year-old colt." He said all his nuts ain't dropped down. He's still a stud. He said one of them nuts is up on his backbone. So I said, "Let him out of that stall. Let's see what he'll do." He come out of that stall pitching and playing, and it rained, and he slipped and fell down. He slid plumb up underneath the catwalk on the chute. Ricky said, "Oh, he ain't buying this son of a gun." He come out of there pitching and playing like a cat. I said, "Ricky, how much y'all want for him?" He said, "We want $2,000. I said, "You take him and get that nut cut out of his backbone, I'll buy him." And that's what I did. And he made I named him Sorta Dead because I had a black guy working for me at the time, Dean Algreen. I said, "Dean, come down. I'm going to ride that old colt. See, and if he gets to bucking or something, you might help me get me out of trouble or something." So I rode him, and he bucked a little bit around there a little bit. When I got through riding him, I said, "Dean, the old colt kind of had a little bucked in him, didn't he?" He said, "He sorta did." And that's when I named him Sorta Dead. You just sorta did it. And he was that way, and no horse become famous. Everybody knew Sorta Dead. And he'd lay down on the outside out there and sleep, and Rona would go lay down on his neck, and she'd go to sleep on it. That old horse would not move as long as that baby. She was just a baby. She'd lay down on that old horse's neck and put her head up on his shoulder, and she'd go to sleep on that old horse. He'd just lay there. He would never move. She woke up, she'd get off of him. He'd get up. That's how gentle he was. And so, but all the girls did good. He did good. Loved to ride. Still do. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun raising them girls. And I set 3 rules. I said, "Y'all all got a car. You got all the gas you want out there. I don't care where you go within reason. All I want to know is where you're going, when you're going to be home, no smoking, and no drinking." Well, yeah, they failed the test. Every one of them. But you know what? They all said, "Daddy, I'm sure glad you set those rules." So, because when we broke them, we made sure we didn't get in trouble. And I never even knew they were breaking them. When they broke them, I never knew it. But later on, after they telling me some stories that they did, it's funny as hell now. But I said, well, that's why I set those rules, because I knew y'all was going to break them. Rules are made to be broken. It's pretty simple. And those was the simplest rules that I ever even put on you girls. And yet you broke every one of them. And I know you was going to do it when you did it, when I set them rules. She worried over them kids. Good mama. She raised the kids. I didn't. I was gone working all the time. I never changed a diaper. Maybe one time, well, there was women. Robin was born. She's the only one we had. And the women was having some kind of function, and Sylvia Ann wanted to go to it. And I said, I'll take care of Robin. Well, I did. So she left. I was sitting in the chair right there reading the paper, watching TV. And Robin was back there in the bedroom in a baby pen. And usually she's hollering and playing back there. I'd hear, and all of a sudden I didn't hear nothing. I said, I better go check on that girl. She done pulled her diaper off, and she done messed everything up to hell, all over her mouth, all over the bed, all over her. Scattered to hell, wouldn't have it, that nasty stinking stuff. So I said, what am I going to do now? And that's back when you had them cotton, it wasn't them disposables, you had them cotton diapers, So I was told you got to swab them in the commode, and then flush the commode and swab them and, clean them up. So I was doing that, and she was still all full of damn mess. And I'd swab a while and I'd puke a while. I said, man. And all of a sudden I looked up, and there's Sylvia Ann looking at me through the bathroom door and right back here. She said, what in the hell is going on, Hensley? I said, from now on, if you're going to go to a woman function, you get a babysitter, because I ain't babysitting no more. I'm through. I'll tell you, I was sick, pale. It made me sicker than hell. She raised the kids. And they followed around like, when we'd go somewhere, it beat anything you ever saw. She was a beautician, and she had them little girls spotless, their hair fixed, and my mother would go with them. She was with us all the time, and wherever they went, them girls were spotless. And we'd go somewhere together, they'd be following along behind us like little chicks, and if we hugged somebody or greeted somebody, them little girls fell in there too. And I still get compliments on them. I got so many compliments on them 3 girls, and it's just a wonderful feeling to have a family like that. And it all started from Sylvia Ann knocking me off that table. We never had any trouble with the kids at all. I told my wife when they got 16, okay, they want to go on a date, let them go. If we ain't taught them right from wrong by now, we ain't going to teach them. Let them go. And I'd go to bed. I don't worry about it. But Sylvia Ann would stay up worrying about it. I said, sweetheart, come on, go to bed with me. Hell, if something's happened, it doesn't happen before they get home, so quit worrying about it. Let's go. Let's go to bed. So, but she'd stay up worried about them kids. She was a hell of a mama. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's great grandkids. And I got 5 grandkids. Kingsley. And Raquel's got Kid and Southern. And Robin and Daryl's got Jacqueline. I call her Jaxie. She got 5 little girls and just had a little boy. And Colin. And Colin, he left home when he was 16 and went to California with the Olympians. Stayed up there. They were going to let him go to the Olympics shooting his bow. He stayed up there. And when they come to shooting in the Olympics, the last Olympics, the boys that he beat all year beat him out. He was number 4, so he didn't get to go. Yeah, I said, Colin, what happened? He said, they call me Pepper. Everybody calls me Pepper. He said, Pepper, I just had a bad day. And I said, well, that's okay, partner. You learned your little lesson there. There's something you did that you didn't do right to where you could get there. You missed practice or you did something. See, you did something to keep you from doing that. You could have done something, could have got you over that hump, partner. You fell on the wrong side of the fence because there's something you didn't do to get to where you're supposed to go. I'm blessed to have a family like I've got. I don't know what else to say. And I don't know if it'd come out of me or it'd come out of my wife. I can't tell you. Probably a lot more I should have said that I didn't say. I don't know. There's so much and so much stuff has happened through the years. Cowboying. Oh, man. Well, hell, it's just bred in me. Every day I just couldn't wait. I'd wait for daylight so I could get on my horse. Man, it's awesome. Just like going cat hunting. Like every time I go, it's for the first time. Every day I go work cattle, I just couldn't wait. Burning daylight. Couldn't wait for daylight so I could get on my horse and go gather some cattle. Maybe something would run off. We get to rope it right quick. Instead of turning it and run it back to the herd, jerk a rope down and rope it and drag it back. Now it ain't as much fun no more like it used to be. When you get older, you get a little more scared about them horses running and falling with you. I've been in some wrecks like you ain't never seen. I just think, oh my God, I think this is gonna be the big one. And come out of it smelling like a rose. I don't know what to tell you. You just gotta have want to, and you gotta work. I don't think I'll ever retire. If I do, them son-in-laws of mine gonna help my ass. I'm hybrid. I'm a hybrid.
You were fast.
I was then. I couldn't outrun a sick terrapin now. You know what a terrapin is?
The fish?
No.
What?
It's a turtle.
A turtle. I thought a terrapin was a fish.
No, a terrapin is a turtle.
All right.
And my recollection.
Was your mom a good cook?
Oh, Lord have mercy. Well, you know all her sisters are good cooks.
Any other stories from your boy? I mean, there's a million probably.
Oh,
did you
man, if
start
I could
driving?
remember all them stories, what are you talking about? Hunting and cowboying and running track with the women. That's it. That's my life. That's good. And I could dance like hell. Still can. I could do the Roadrunner's Ramble and the Lizard Lope right now. That thing looked like an old maid school teacher. You better cut that one. You're going to record it?
Well, I mean, I might be recording now.
Yeah, some funny shit. If you're a cowboy, you see a lot of funny shit happen. All you got to do is pay attention.
And you never went out and got remarried?
No, I ain't going to do that. Once enough, man. What the hell? Damn, I didn't think we ever was going to get through with this interview.
Yeah.